Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining today's VS Student Scholars Student Program Information webinar. Please note that all participant lines will be muted throughout the duration of this call. We will be taking questions during this call, and if you'd like to ask a question over the phone, you may do so by pressing #2 on your telephone keypad, and you will hear a notification once your line has been unmuted. If you'd like to submit a written question, you may do so by selecting the Participants menu at the top of your screen and choose to send notes to all presenters. And if you are logged in using the web-based application, use the Notes tab on the bottom right-hand side of your screen and address your question to all moderators. And I can remind you of how to do so once we get to that portion of the call. With that, I'd like to turn the call over to Karen Martin, Employee Program Specialist. Karen, please go ahead.
Thank you, Corinne. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to any BSET members who may be on the call. Today we're going to be talking about VS Student Scholar programs. Next slide. So on our agenda today, we're going to go over the APHIS Mentor Program. We have Nicole Baldoff from MRPBS going to talk to us about that. Next we have the APHIS Pathways Program Overview, and we have Drury Lewis, also from MRPBS, going to be talking about that. And then me and my team, that's Deidre Nabew and Pam McDonough, are going to be talking about student program information, and we're going to go over some program topics and then have frequently asked questions at the end. And also joining me in the office today on this call is my director, Ms. LaWanda Gamble from Management Support Division, so she is in the office as well. And next slide. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole Baldoff, who's going to be presenting an orientation to mentoring. Nicole?
Hi, yep. Nicole Baldoff here. Thanks, Karen. So the purpose of my presentation is just going to give you an overview and an understanding of how you would effectively participate in the mentoring program as either a mentor or a protege. So the APHIS Mentoring Program, it promotes an inclusive environment that's accessible to all APHIS employees, and it establishes an environment of trust and continual learning, which in turn sustains the foundation of the APHIS mission. The program also enhances the personal and professional development of all employees and assists with new learning skills and advice for career development. People have different reasons for wanting to enter into a mentoring relationship, and some of the reasons are greatly based upon what the protege sees for themselves. A protege can be interested in enhancing personal growth, learning new skills, or seeking advice for career development. Whatever the reason is, mentoring can be an important element in the development of all employees at any level. In organizations, mentoring has been proven to increase morale, increase productivity, it enhances career development, and improves leadership succession planning. This partnership that I'm going to be discussing will typically last for about a year. It can last longer, but minimum a year. And the mentor and protege would set their meeting schedules based upon their availability. Next slide, please. Mentoring is a true partnership between both the protege and the mentor. And the mentor would play the role of the person that has more experience in whatever area the protege is looking to enhance. And obviously the protege would be the one in the relationship that has less experience. The age, position, and length of service within APHIS does not matter. For example, a person with really good computer skills and technology can mentor a person at a higher GS level that has experience with animal and plants. Both partners are responsible for the success of that mentoring relationship, where the mentor shares their experiences and information and challenges the protege to experience things and to stretch in order to increase his or her knowledge and abilities. If you are interested in participating in the APHIS mentoring program, you can click, if you are online, there's a link down at the bottom right that should be live that you should be able to click there, and that'll take you to the Center for Training and Organization Development's SharePoint site. On there you'll find all the information you could possibly need regarding our mentoring program. At the top of that main page, you will have to look specifically for the option for all APHIS employees, and then from there you go to the mentoring program. And once you're on the mentoring site, like I said, they have all the information that you need there and also all the steps needed to be taken to apply to the program. So if you were to submit an application to the mentoring portal, after you send the request, you would receive an email, most likely from me. I am the program assistant for the mentoring program, or Tanya Briscoe, who is the program manager for the mentoring program. And then on that email, there'll be detailed steps on how to then complete the actual application to be either a mentor or a protege. And then once you fill out that portion, your supervisor will get an email notification that you have put in a request to be part of the mentoring program, and then they would need to approve it. Once that is done, you would be officially part of the program, and Tanya Briscoe, the program manager, would go in and match you based on what you filled out in your applications and what you envision for yourself with your best mentor or best protege, depending on what role. Unless you did have somebody in mind, which we can also do that. If you already have a mentor or a protege in mind, that would just be something you would need to let us know, and we'd be happy to match you with that specific person as well. Next slide, please. So once all of that is done, to have an effective mentoring relationship means a bunch of different things. The most important is that it's a structured one-on-one relationship that focuses on the needs of the protege. This relationship fosters caring and supportive relationships and encourages the protege to develop to their fullest potential and develop his or her own vision of the future, either career path-wise or just for personal development. It's also a strategy to develop partnerships. APHIS supports mentoring as a way to develop employees at all levels and instill a sense of being in on the decision-making and changes that are occurring in the agency. Mentoring partnerships also involve both the mentor and protege asking questions and formulating strategies together. Just because you're the mentor doesn't mean that you're not going to gain anything out of the relationship or as much from the protege, because it truly is a relationship where you learn from each other. And that's really what we have seen the best mentoring relationships come from. The mentor does take on the role of helping navigate the protege through tough decision-making or new situations and encourages them to try new things and to learn from their mistakes and share their mistakes that they've made in the past and ways to do things differently and just be more successful in general. Obviously, there's times that relationships aren't going to work for whatever reason, and in this case, all you have to do is contact either Tanya Briscoe or I, and we will work to match you with somebody else. So let's quickly look at the roles specifically of the mentor first. The mentor first acts as a coach and an advisor and gives advice and guidance, shares ideas, and provides feedback to the protege. The mentor also shares information on the current culture of the organization or any unwritten rules that happen within APHIS. A mentor is also a source for encouragement and support, as I've been saying. That's huge. They need to act as a sounding board for ideas and concerns about the mentee's current job, future career choices, and really provides helpful insight into possible opportunities for the protege. The mentor also is going to act as a key resource person. So if a protege is new to the agency, they'll be able to let them know where they need to go for answers to different questions regarding their career goal, or even training opportunities, detail opportunities, people in their network. They're also going to be a champion or an advocate for that protege. They're really going to have your back. They're going to want to be there to lift you up and want the best for you. And kind of sometimes play devil's advocate, but we need that, when it's appropriate. It helps you think outside of the box, really asks you those tough questions that you may not want to answer, even though beyond that answer is really growth. So now let's look at how the role of a protege would come into the mentoring relationship. So as a protege, you can play many different roles during the course of this relationship. And the first would be that you are a development planner. You'll work with your mentor to create a goal sheet. So we actually have a goal-setting worksheet, which is outlined, and it helps you define specific goals for the relationship and developmental activities that will help you reach those goals. Having it all laid out like that and a structured, clear plan, and putting it on paper, visualizing it, really helps to make sure that you both are held accountable. And it really is on the protege to look at that, develop it at first, and then work with your mentor to see if those goals are truly attainable and how to change them up. You're also in the relationship can act as a resource partner, and if you have resources that the mentor doesn't, you would identify those and share all that information. Also, you'd be a teacher. Look for opportunities to give back to your mentor in any way you can, because again, it is a give and take, but as a protege, nobody in a relationship should ever just take, and naturally that will happen, but looking for those ways to also act as a teacher will definitely give you more value to yourself. And being a continuous learner and taking full advantage of this opportunity to learn and grow and stretch is huge. Some major elements of mentoring are that 3 very vital communication competencies. First is going to be active listening, and then effective questioning, and finally giving and receiving feedback. All of those are skills and competencies that can be worked on, and this relationship is a perfect way to develop them, improve them. We can all use improvement in any aspect, and especially if you're great at these, it would be awesome to give back to other people. There's also great courses available in AgLearn that touch on all these aspects of interpersonal communication skills. So if you feel like you need to brush up on that, and then share that with either your protege or your mentor, what you've learned. Also in the training phase, both mentors and proteges are required to take a mentoring course in AgLearn. It's a wonderful course that provides information about the basics, email confirming of the official partnership. It really just walks you through all the steps, all the information that you've already come across once you've gone to the SharePoint site, but it's just a refresher to kind of remind you exactly what it is you're getting into. Next slide, please. So once that's all said and done, at your first meeting with your mentor, you should discuss your goals, competencies that you want to improve upon, or other skills that you may want to acquire for your job or future positions, and then discuss the achievements that both of you had in your personal life and career thus far. And then you would address any challenges that you've had thus far in your development or general duties on your job as well. Then we always recommend that you make that list of topics to be discussed at your next meeting. And then that would be a commonplace thing to do at the end of each meeting that you guys have. Wrap it up, and then not necessarily homework, but tasks to think about and what are we going to address next time. it's always good to just have a planned agenda to go off of your career goals worksheet and kind of just make sure your meetings are effective and both of you, the whole relationship is just streamlined, so there's no confusion. It really helps to have it all out like that. And we have a bunch of questions that I can provide on the SharePoint site for you. I don't have them listed out here, but questions that kind of get your wheels going, and I'd be glad to share those with you as well. Next slide, please. Another aspect of this is setting effective goals. And basically, goal setting is deciding on what competencies you want to improve, very specific ones. You can ask your supervisor or your peers, your employees, as far as their feedback on what you may need to develop. And remember the SMART goals, which are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. So that really helps to develop that list. Another great resource is going to the Career Development Center, which is also located on that SharePoint site that I had mentioned for the Center for Training and Organization Development. It has a lot of information aside from the goal setting. It has assessments there that you can take. An IDP is a great example. That's the Individual Development Plan, if you're not familiar, and that's through AgLearn as well, where you list out different developmental opportunities and have it officially in AgLearn and have your supervisor sign off on it. It's another great way to hold yourself accountable and just visually be able to see and check off exactly what you've been doing to get to that point that in your career. If you follow the 4 steps in the Career Development Center and then discuss it with your mentor, you should be on the right path to setting effective goals. Next slide, please. And this is the Career Development Center website that you'll see. It's just a screenshot, but this is the page that has all that information that I've shared. I'm not sure, actually, I'm trying to click on this hyperlink. I'm not sure if it's a live link or not, but I will provide my email address, and because the SharePoint site, the path is it's long and convoluted, so I would need to email it to you, and then highly suggest you bookmark it as a reference tool. And on that career development website, I had mentioned different evaluations and assessments that all APHIS employees have access to, and those will help you kind of realize your blind spots by getting an assessment done and receiving feedback from your peers, your supervisor, any coworkers that you may have had in the past or in the present. And all of this is generated through my staff, the Center for Training and Organization Development. And if you have any questions at all, you're more than welcome to email us directly at, let me see, I will stick it in the chat once I wrap up here. I'll provide you with all the links. I'm able to do that, right, guys? Hold on. Well, do you guys have any questions for me?
And as a reminder to the audience, if you'd like to ask a question over the phone, you may do so by pressing #2 on your telephone keypad, and you will hear a notification once your line has been unmuted. And I repeat, that's #2. And if you'd like to submit a written question, please select the Participants menu at the top of your screen and opt to send note to all presenters. And if you are logged in using the web-based application, use the Notes tab on the bottom right-hand side of your screen and address it. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne. Our next speaker is going to be Ms. Jeree Lewis, and she's going to be talking about the Pathways Intern Training Program. Jeree?
Yes, ma'am. Hello. Thank you. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Again, as Karen mentioned, I am Jeree Lewis, and I am the Marketing Regulatory Program Recruitment and Student Program Manager. It is a pleasure and a privilege to join you on this very sunny afternoon here in Maryland. So without further ado, next slide, please. I will discuss the presentation topics that I will be covering this afternoon. Excuse me. So I will talk about the Pathways Student Employment Program, as Karen mentioned, and the three programs that sit under the Pathways Student Employment Program, which is the Internship Program, the Recent Graduate Program, and the Presidential Management Fellows Program, also known as PMF. I will talk briefly about the participant agreement, transcripts, yes, those transcripts, and last but not least, accept any questions and feedback you may have for me. Next slide, please. All right, so let's define the Pathways Program. So the Pathways Program provides clear paths to federal government careers for high school to postgraduate students and to careers for recent graduates. It also provides meaningful training and developmental opportunities to those who are beginning their federal careers. Next slide, please. The internship program provides students enrolled in a wide variety of educational institutions from high school to graduate levels the opportunity to work for agencies and explore federal careers while getting paid for the work performed. Students who successfully complete this program may be eligible for conversion, and notice that I put emphasis on may be eligible for conversion to a term or permanent position in the competitive service. So the internship program actually replaces what was formerly known as the STEP and STEP program. The STEP was the Student Temporary Employment Program, and the STEP was the Student Career Experience Program. Now, the STEP program was basically students who were interns, but they actually had a not-to-exceed date. However, the STEP program students did not have a not-to-exceed date, so they were more eligible for to be non-competitively converted to the competitive service. So today, under the Pathways, it's basically the same. We still have students that sit under the Pathways program who are actually Pathways interns that have a not-to-exceed date. However, we have some that do not have a not-to-exceed date, and that's basically determined by the need of the program. Now, some of the eligibility requirements for the internship program is that an individual who has been accepted for enrollment or who is enrolled in an accredited degree-seeking program. However, this is not applicable only to those in degree-seeking programs. This is also applicable to individuals who are seeking a diploma, who's in high school, someone that may be in a certificate program, someone who's actually being homeschooled, or in a vocational or trade school. Okay, the student trainees must also be enrolled a minimum of half time and be in good academic standing. So you can always check with your admissions office or whomever to confirm what exactly is being half time according to your university or educational institution, if you will. You must maintain a 2.0 GPA or better. Your position should be related to your academic or career goals. Now, the U.S. citizenship piece. So you may be appointed to an intern position provided that the student trainee is lawfully admitted to the U.S. as a permanent resident or is otherwise authorized to be employed. However, student trainees must be a U.S. citizen to be eligible for non-competitive conversion to the competitive service. So, however, I will just reiterate more in layman's terms. If your supervisor thinks that you are great and wonderful and they are interested in keeping you and non-competitively converting you to the competitive career federal service, you must show proof or be a U.S. citizen at the time of conversion. And you must be at least 16 years of age. All right, next slide. Okay, so now let's look at some of the training and work requirements that must go into this as well. Okay, so you must enter into a written agreement for the position. There are training programs, as stated, and educational requirements that must be completed prior to conversion to a permanent or term appointment. Interns must complete 640 hours of work-related experience. However, the great news is, in addition to those 640 hours, 320 of those required 640 hours can actually be waived if the student demonstrates superior academic achievement. So you ask yourself, what is superior academic achievement? What does that look like? So it requires one to have a 3 to 4.0 cumulative GPA or a 3.5 to a 4.0 major GPA, or you must sit at least at the top 10% of your graduating class. And I can see you all on the line saying, oh, that's a cakewalk for me because I am talking to scholars on my line. And also, if you previously spent time in an internship or worked in an agency through a third-party program. Some of you all may be familiar with third-party programs, and I'll just throw a few out there at you. The HACU program, which is the Hispanic American Colleges and Universities, and I would like to just take this opportunity to share with you my colleague, Ms. Crystal Quinones-Flores, who is on the line, actually joined us last year under the HACU program, and she is a shining star in our office. She's done such a wonderful job. We actually asked that she will return, and so she is now working on her second year with our program. So we are certainly happy to have Crystal with us, and she joined us under the HACU program, third-party program. Also, we have the WIN, which is the Washington Internship for Native Students. Also, you all may be familiar with MLK, of course, Martin Luther King, and the Thurgood Marshall College Fund, just to name a few of the third-party programs that you may have been a part of, which can help you to shave off some of the 640 mandatory hours. Also, you must have successful completion of academic study, and USDA agencies and staff offices may require additional training, and it could be for a number of reasons. It could very well be that your manager just feels that they need to see a little more. They may assign you, in addition to your mandatory courses that you selected, they may ask you to take an elective. So they are within their rights to ask you. So it is important that I stress this to you all, because I know that 40 hours of training can actually be a lot of work in addition to your regular course of study. But we, don't want students to perhaps say, hey, I finished my 40 hours and, and you are surprised by an additional course or two thrown your way. Okay, so I definitely want to mention that. And also, you must, as Nicole did such a wonderful job covering the mentor program, you must be assigned a mentor within 45 to 90 days of entry into your position. followed by an IDP should be established within 45 days of entry into your position. And so you already know the coordinator. I was going to actually mention that, so you know who to reach out for mentoring guidance and advice. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the ACES Internship Scholarship Program, which is a formal internship program that follows the Pathways program. And to my understanding, I am already speaking to pretty much Salty Wilson internship and Dandy Solomon scholars on the line. However, again, I just wanted to share that the veterinary services target those in veterinary medicine and biomedical services in their undergrad and grad studies. And under the Dan Solomon internship, in addition to your veterinarians, other key positions are microbiology and entomology, or on the business side, they actually target those interested in budget and management analysts. And so VS is really near and dear to my heart, one of my favorite programs, and I don't know if any of our HR colleagues on the line, but I do have a passion for VS because they are always so very generous in their giving. And so they originally started off, in addition to your paid internship, individuals could earn up to $5,000 per year in their undergrad studies and $10,000 per year in their grad studies. However, they recently increased that amount, and you're able to earn up to $7,500 per year in your undergrad studies and $15,000 per year in your graduate studies. And those funds can be applied towards your book, tuition, and other associated fees. However, another one of our ACES programs, which is the Plant Protection Quarantine Services, also known as PPQ, also has a scholarship internship program, which is the William F. Helms Internship Program. And their key positions are for those interested in a career in agriculture, botany, plant pathology, etc. However, they continue to issue $5,000 per year for those in their undergrad studies and $10,000 per year for those in their graduate studies, along with their paid internship. And again, these funds can be applied towards books, tuition, and other associated fees. Okay. I can stop and take questions if it's okay at this time, or I can do it at the end, whatever works for you all. I just wanted to kind of test the pulse of my presentation at this time so that you all don't forget any questions you may have. If not, we will keep this train moving along. Going once? I see a hand. All right.
We have received a question.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Good afternoon. My name is Azani Sawyer, and I just had a quick question. It's kind of general, so I hope you can help me with it. So currently I'm a part of the Salty Wilson internship, and I have come across a little issue because I'm a current senior in undergrad, and I'm just trying to assess, like, what might happen in the future, and pretty much I'm just wondering if I don't get into vet school within the year after graduating undergrad, does the program still support us financially, and does it also still support us if we decide to go to schools that are international? That's all my question.
So that may be a program question as far as the financial piece. Karen, do you have, or LaWanda, do you have an answer for that?
Yes, Jeree, this is LaWanda. Hi, Azani. Thank you for your question. To answer your question, if there is a break in your education, then that will end. That will stop your tuition from being continued to support your furthering your education to that school. And no, we do not support international education pursuits. So if once you graduate, you have to be converted within 120 days of your graduation date for you to be reported to your assigned duty station.
Okay. All right. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Great question. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, LaWanda.
Of course, you're welcome.
Okay.
We did receive another question.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Hi, I have a question calling in from the Ohio office regarding exemptions. You were talking about excusing about 300 hours or so. So there are at least a few of us, to my knowledge, that were made this offer during our second year of veterinary school, in which we only have one summer to complete all of our hours. Is there any way you could kind of just reassess or go over the ways that we could get them exemption, or just kind of what we should do? Because the point in which we were made our offers, there's really not much of a feasible way whatsoever to get 640 in. And is that also 640 plus the 40 hours of training? Just kind of wanted to clarify on those of us who might be in a little bit of a hard place. Thank you.
Okay, and that actually is a wonderful question. I am actually going to get your name, and I want to verify exactly. I think that was an excellent question, but I do want to verify, my thinking before I, put anything out there. What are some, additional options for you all, like as you mentioned, who actually accepted an appointment, later on in your, in your education. So if you could just give me your name, I will get back with you regarding your question. And that was a great question. What is your name again?
My name is Shauna Frankel.
Okay. Miss Shauna, can you spell it for me?
It might be easier if you see it on the list. It's Frankel, Frankel.
Okay, it's just so many people here. Okay. Okay.
My first name is, did you see me?
I see you. I see you. Okay, I just want to record that. And so actually I'll find you in the address book. That was a great question, but let me just confirm that for you, okay?
Yeah, thank you. I'd really appreciate it.
Sure, I'll get back with you. Thank you. Okay, next question.
We have received one more question. Avery, go ahead. Your line is unmuted.
Avery, we can't hear you. Can you please type your question in, and then we will read it and then answer it? I'm hoping she said yes. Jerry, can you go ahead, please?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Next slide, but just before we go any further, Shauna, I just wanted to ask you a question real quick. So none of those alternative options were applicable to your situation. You had no former internship experience and things of that nature. Am I correct?
Unfortunately, it was a little bit unclear. You were kind of breaking up at points, so I'm not sure I really understood all of the necessary, kind of ways that you could be exempted either. So I just kind of wanted to not only check through and make sure that I either could or could not apply for one of those, and if that wasn't the case, then what are some options? I mean, as far as internships, I wouldn't say I haven't done anything necessarily with a government organization or anything like that, but I mean, I've had internships in veterinary hospitals, but I don't know if that necessarily kind of qualifies. That's why I just kind of wanted to know some more about this, because there's a lot of us I know, or at least a good amount of us, who are a little concerned about how we could feasibly get these hours. So either ways to excuse them, what qualifies, or what we should do if we don't qualify.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you for your question. Okay, so you have had some internships, so like you mentioned, they were at hospital. Obviously, you were not in any third-party programs, and I'm not quite sure if you actually mastered any of those GPAs grades that I actually mentioned.
Yeah, I wasn't really clear. You said something like 3.0 to 4.0 or above 3.5, or also what you qualify, like what do you mean by third-party internships? So that's kind of why I just wanted more clarification on that.
Okay, and I'm glad you asked that question. I want to make sure that I'm very clear. So we have something that is actually called the Superior Academic Achievement, and generally that is generally your students who sit pretty much at the top of the class. They pretty much maintain, above, well above your average GPA, so to speak. So I'll just kind of reiterate that. So to qualify for the superior, as a superior academic achievement student, you would have to have a 3 to 4.0 cumulative GPA or a 3.5 to 4.0 major GPA, or at least within the top 10% of your graduating class. And you can always affirm that. And now that we're having this discussion, I think it's very important that you go back and, speak with, someone in your, your admissions office or what have you, kind of see if you actually qualify, because you may very well fit the bill, if you will. And that actually can help you to, again, waive some of the 640 hours, which rightfully so you're actually concerned about. And like I said, I have my own thinking, but I just want to be certain when I, follow up with you with a sound answer, that it is accurate. So, having this conversation might be important for you to go and sit down with your academic advisor or whomever, and, just kind of basically figure out if you actually fall under, one of these requirements, which actually, help you to meet those number of hours necessary.
What do you mean by a major GPA? What do you mean by a major GPA? Is that something you're referring to students who are offered this as undergraduate students or students in the veterinary program? Because unfortunately, I am frustratingly close at a 2.9, so I don't qualify for the 3.0 over.
So normally on your official, on your transcript, the transcript will generally reflects what your cumulative GPA is, and I've also seen your transcripts that actually can reflect your major GPA. However, Shana, I know I reverted back to this situation, but if you and I can just have a sidebar conversation, on this, I'm definitely going to get back with you on that. But keep all of your concerns, just keep your concerns jotted down, and I will definitely follow up with you on this, and it's for the sake of time, okay?
All righty, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure, thank you. Okay, so now we will actually turn to the recent graduate program. So let's define the recent graduate program. So this program targets individuals who have recently graduated from a qualifying educational institution or program. So, however, applicants must apply within 2 years of degree or certificate completion, and they must have met all requirements for obtaining that degree or certificate in some of the various degrees that you must obtain as shown. However, those who are military and are unable to apply within 2 years of receiving their degree due to military service obligation have up to 6 years to apply. So in addition to those who graduated with a degree, if you, again, have a military service obligation, you have more of an extended period of time because, of course, we always appreciate, your service. All right. Next slide, please. So now, let's take a look at the training and work requirements that actually go into the recent graduate program. So students must enter into a written agreement for the position as well. They must adhere to 40 hours of formal interactive training per year, unlike the internship program, which you will have the duration of your internship to complete your 40 hours of mandatory training. Those in the recent grad program are a little bit more on a fast track to completing their training. However, the recent grad program generally lasts for 1 year. However, it can be extended out to 2 years per the supervisor's approval, because sometimes the recent grads have not been sometimes they don't finish their training within the allotted amount of time. So some supervisors will grant them that extension to complete their training. In addition to that, the recent grads must complete a mandatory annual training. So the recent grad may be assigned, for example, we as federal government employees on an annual basis are assigned in our learning plans in AgLearn an IT security training that must happen every year. That's the first mandatory training that leaps out at me because sometimes it comes so fast. So they must complete an additional mandatory training in addition to their 40 hours. Also, their required training must be completed in order to be converted to a term or permanent appointment in the competitive service. So each of you should have received a training plan, or upon being onboarded, when you meet with your supervisor, you should be provided a training plan that actually has a laundry list of mandatory training or elective. However, you want to pretty much hone in on those mandatory trainings, if you will, and by all means, pick some that actually spark your interest. But what I would definitely share with you is talk it out with your supervisors and ask them what are some of the mandatory trainings that you should, choose. However, they would know best, because you want to make sure those trainings align with the work you're doing, and most definitely you want them to help to set you up to be successful in your job. Also, there should be a mentor assigned within 45 to 90 days of entry into the position, as well as an IDP should be established, which is an individual development plan, which should be established within 45 days of entry into the position. Next slide, please. And last but not least, we have the Presidential Management Fellows Program, also known as the PMF. And this is the federal government's premier leadership development program for advanced degree candidates. And so this program is actually administered by OPM. It falls under the Pathways program, but it's kind of set apart. Again, like I mentioned, this process is administered by the Office of Personnel Management. There is a $7,000 fee paid to the Office of Personnel Management by the agency if a PMF is selected and is onboarded. So some of the eligibility requirements for your PMF is these individuals who have received a qualifying advanced degree within the preceding 2 years, and a few are shown here. Also, a selection process includes a school nomination and a rigorous 2-stage assessment process. So this process basically doesn't necessarily deal with the formal recruitment process, if you will. So there are 2 phases to this process, and so phase 1 is an online assessment that all applicants must complete during the application process. And phase 2 will be a half-day in-person assessment for semifinalists selected from the total applicant pool. And both phases are designed to uncover the competencies that are critical to be successful on the job. So your finalists who obtain an appointment as a PMF serve in a 2-year position. All right, next slide, please. And some of the training and development for the PMF are they too must enter into a mentorship agreement, and they too must have an individual development plan on record. They too must have career planning, professional development, and training activities. So, mind you, the PMF are already geared towards leadership. So that's why they are pretty much set apart, and their process is a little more technical. They must have 80 hours of formal interactive training each year of the program. And each PMF must receive at least 1 developmental assignment of 4 to 6 months in duration with management and or technical responsibilities consistent with the PMF IDP. However, the PMF, they may choose to participate. The federal government has what is called agency-wide initiatives or presidential or administration initiatives, basically that they can choose to be a part of, and that will provide the PMF with the experience they'll gain through the 4 to 6 month development assignment if they were to take that option. And at the conclusion of the 2-year fellowship, PMF have the opportunity to convert to a permanent position. This is a link where you can access at your leisure to learn more about the PMF program. And most positions under this program start at the GS9 level or higher. Okay. Is it okay to ask before we turn over? Are there any questions regarding recent grads and PMF? If not, we'll keep moving along. Any questions? Okay.
We have not received any questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next slide then, please. Okay, so I thought this was really interesting once I learned that 30% of the USDA workforce will be eligible for retirement by the year 2019. So a lot of times I am actually boots on the ground attending many recruitment and outreach events at various colleges, organizations, and things of that nature. And so, my job is to win over the students and share the best and most sound information that I possibly could and letting them know why we need them, the best and brightest stars, if you will. So I like to share this information because we are in a phase right now where there are many people who are eligible for retirement, and they are really retiring. And so with that, there is approximately 100,000 USDA employees nationwide. So that's a whopping 30,000 employees who's eligible for retirement. And these statistics actually go back as far as 2015. So yeah, we could lose a whopping 30,000 employees basically who's eligible, for retirement. So we need you. So I just thought that was really important information for you to know. Next slide, please. Okay. So generally, I'm a visual person. So what I generally do, again, when I go out to these various events, and if I actually present this pathway presentation, I generally have a salary table that shows an annual salary based on where I am at that time. However, this is a basic general schedule salary table that shows what, based on what your grade is, what your hourly wage is, and if you were to earn overtime, what your hourly wage would look like. However, I generally have a salary table that shows your annual salary and what you could potentially make based on the full potential, the full grade level of your job, or where you actually sit at the present moment. And however, the numbers are large with the students, and they're flying off of the PowerPoint presentation, so they get excited. So it's a method to my madness. So that's why I generally like to include this pay scale. So I'm sure for a lot of you on the line now, you probably aren't sure what you're actually making. So just take a moment to identify where you are on this pay scale, and it generally will give you an idea of your hourly wage. All right, next slide, please. All right, and so this is some very helpful websites, and the first one is the Pathway Frequently Asked Questions link. The second one shows job sites, college majors, and last but not least, the last link shows federal occupations by college major. So the young man who's been facilitating this webinar, I'm sure that he can help you all to actually get this presentation where you can actually file it away for your information. But I would encourage you all to check out these links. There's a lot of good information out here in these links. You'll learn a lot that you probably don't know. All right, next slide, please. Okay, so the participant agreement, so each of you, again, when you were onboarded, you should have had the opportunity to sit down and meet with your supervisors who will have introduced you to a participant agreement that talks about a lot of the things that, rules and, not rules, so to speak, but some of the requirements and things that you must adhere to, kind of like the do's and don'ts, if you will. And so this must be recertified at the beginning of each academic year. And the reason for doing so is because it will remind you all of your program requirements. You can update any information that may have changed over the course of your academic year, such as your expected graduation date, your major, work schedules, etc. So if any of this is applicable to you at that time, please amend that participant agreement and send it to myself. And otherwise, if no information has changed, you will not need to resubmit the agreement. I am so sorry, my computer timed out and I have to log right back in real quick. Sorry. Okay, I'm back. So again, if no information has changed, you will not need to resubmit the agreement. Okay. So next slide, please. Okay, transcripts. So transcripts, you all will be required twice a year. An official transcript, so what happens is, generally out of my office, we send out a notification to your respective program student point of contact. And so what will happen is, which we're actually in the process of reaching out to you all now for your spring semester official transcript. So what will happen is, roughly around June, we will send these notifications out to your point of contact with a deadline date generally within the July time frame. Okay, so right now we are actually reaching out to you all, and I must give a shout out. I must give kudos to Ms. Pam McDonough, who has been magnificent with working with us to collect these official transcripts. It is very important, guys, that you all provide us with these transcripts. It's going to happen. It must happen. And within these official transcripts, you must provide us it must reflect your GPA. And I noticed that some of the transcripts actually mention that the individual is in good academic standing. However, all of them do not. In the event that it is not on your transcript, alongside your official transcript, we must have documentation reflecting that you are in good academic standing and a list of your fall semester courses, your upcoming, fall semester courses. Next slide, please. Now I would like to turn to the unofficial transcript. So basically the same process will happen. So in January, we will again send out a notice to your respective program coordinators, student point of contact coordinators, what have you, that will require you to provide us with your unofficial transcript for the fall semester that too shall reflect your GPA, your academic standing, and a list of your spring semester courses. So that's what we will be looking for at that time. And I know the million-dollar question is, why must I provide a transcript and additional documentation, such as proof of upcoming semester classes, documents showing student in good academic standing? Well, a lot of times, as I mentioned, good academic standing is stated on the transcript, but not always. So I have received separate letters from some of you stating you're in good academic standing, and which is great, and that you all are waiting on your official transcript. However, it is a Pathways mandatory requirement. Also, it provides proof of your enrollment of at least half time or greater. Again, it shows that you maintain at least a 2.0 GPA or better. And what I will share with you around this is that, your education is your primary focus. So if you're falling below the required GPA, you can be granted one additional semester to bring up your grades before you can actually be removed from the Pathways program. So we actually are asking for this information because it helps us to make sure that you are staying within the guidelines to remain in the Pathways program. Have I ever seen this happen? Actually, no. Have I known of this close to happening to someone? Yes. So, it lets us know if you remain in good academic standing. And we need to see that you are continuing your education while in the program, because this is what the program is actually designed for. Is Ms. Pam McDonough the bad guy? No. Is Ms. Cherie Lewis the bad guy? No. So I just want to put a little bug in your ear. When I inherited this program, I heard that students at one point had the opportunity to go by the honor system, but that didn't go over too well, where students didn't always have to provide as much information. But we had some who did not stay on the honor system. So you all are an intelligent group of millennials, and I'm quite sure that you all know or have heard about people figuring out ways of altering transcripts, at least unofficial transcripts, and that is what was happening. And so as students were going to school, some students were going to school less than the required time, so they weren't very honest people, to put it bluntly. So we follow up with an official transcript which cannot be altered. So I'm actually pleading with you to please not get frustrated with Ms. Pam McDonough, myself, supervisors, HR, or other personnel. When I ask for this information, if you could just, please comply as quickly as possible. We're basically, just doing our job. I want you to know that this is going to be a recurring effort twice a year, fall and spring semester. We get more pushback during the spring, and that's because we request official transcripts, and I'm believing that it's tied to a cost. However, this must be done. So I ask that you just plan to put aside a few bucks around this time of year. We will be out of your hair, once you're converted. When you resist it, prolongs the process, and eventually it will be elevated. So trust me, we want to see you all be good, do good, succeed, and more importantly, secure a professional career with us here at ACES. Okay, and next slide, please. So this is me, who's the lady behind the screen and behind the phone call, and this is my contact information. So again, you all will have these slides, and please feel free to reach out to me at your leisure. And next slide, any questions before we wrap up here? And no questions. If there are no questions, that will conclude our presentation.
Okay. Thank you, Jeree.
Sure.
Okay. Next topic we're going to talk about is overall student program information, and I'm going to cover that. Next slide, please. Okay, these are the main student programs that we work with. And you'll see who the program managers are, who are the point of contacts for each program. So we have the Salty Wilson, which are the veterinary biomedicine. And that program manager is Ms. Lynn Chambers, who is actually out on extended leave. So our other program manager, Deidre Neveu, will cover her information. And Deidre also handles the Daniel Salmon internship, the 1890s, and the VS Tribal Initiative interns. And we have the summer intern program on there, which I'm actually working this year, but they're not part of the scholarship program, but they're on our overall chart. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an overall comparison of the student programs, just to give you an idea of like what each one covers. So to the left, you'll see the name of the program, and then you'll see whether or not travel to and from the duty station is paid, whether or not housing is paid. Of course, salary, most of them are getting salary with the exception of the volunteers. And then you'll see some programs do pay tuition, some don't, and some programs are eligible for conversion to competitive service and some are not. So you'll see the Salty Wilson, Daniel Salmon, the 1890s and the tribal all get tuition. However, with the 1890s, they're unique in that they're covered under the Fellow Experience Program. But years back, the original students that were enrolled in that program were considered conversion eligible at that time, and they were grandfathered in. So the newer students are no longer eligible for conversion. So that's why we have a yes and no answer on that last table for eligible for conversion competitive service. And then if you go further down, you'll also see we also have a student intern hired by the business unit. Now that's just a straight intern. It's not a scholarship like the Saul Wilson and the Daniel Salmon and the 1890s in the trial. This is just a straight pathway student hired by the business unit. And those are not tuition eligible, but they are eligible for conversion if the business unit decides to keep them. So that's why that one is yes or no. So then we also have the third-party programs, as Jeree mentioned, and those are listed at the bottom. and those types, some get housing and some may not, and they're all different, where some may work just a couple months, and you'll see that those are also not eligible for conversion. Okay, the next slide is going to be Deetra Naviu is going to cover the Saul T. Wilson internship program for Lynn Chavers, who's out. So before we move to that, I just wanted to check to see if anybody has any questions so far. Okay, I don't see anything. So I'm going to turn it over to Deetra.
Thanks, Karen. Good afternoon, everyone. As Karen said, I'm Deetra Naviu, covering for Lynn Chambers, who is the official Saul T. Wilson Program Manager. So just a little bit about the Wilson Program. So the Wilson Program targets pre-vet and vet school students, offering a comprehensive mentorship and career development program within VS. Next slide, please. Moving on to the Daniel E. Salmon. The Salmon program offers non-veterinary students VS mentorship and career development opportunities in preparation for public service. So both with the Wilson and the Salmon, our work in VS demands the need for a steady stream of talent, and both Wilson and Salmon interns enhance this effort. Next slide, please. So the Wilson and Salmon programs are identical, except for the fact that Wilson students are pre-vet, veterinary, or animal science majors, and Salmon students have varying majors. So all Wilson interns will be placed in the 0799 student training series, whereas Salmon interns could be in any of the following fields, ranging from biology to administrative positions. Next slide, please. A little more about both of the programs. So students must be enrolled as full-time students or have proof of accepted enrollment in an accredited college or university within the U.S. Internships are awarded annually as funding permits. Internship recipients will be placed on a pathways appointment, allowing for non-competitive appointment. Once all program requirements are met, both Wilson and Salmon interns have the possibility of conversion to a permanent position within APHIS. APHIS is underlined there because we just wanted to highlight that if the student can't be placed within VS, they will be placed in a program within APHIS. Tuition, including lab fees and books, and salary are paid via the central funds. Next slide, please. Both Wilson and Salmon recipients are awarded the following: tuition in the amount of $7,500 per year for undergraduate students and $15,000 per year for graduate students. They will receive paid summer employment beginning the following summer after initial hire. So students hired for 2017 will begin working summer 2018 between the May and June timeframe. They will receive federal employee benefits and also a $2,000 one-time travel allotment. And that's allowed to last them throughout the duration of the program. Next slide, please. So student responsibilities for the Wilson and Salmon students include provide transcripts and or proof of enrollment as required, maintain a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or better, having to remain in good academic standing, notify your supervisor of any change in enrollment status or work schedule, participate in agency training classes, programs, and develop an IDP. So, for example, there were new classes added to the 2017 Student Intern Training Plan, where these will be taken within AgLearn. Perform successfully the assigned duties listed in your PD. Must become an APHIS employee for at least 1 calendar year for each school year covered by the internship. Also, students, during their onboarding process, they're required to sign the Pathways Internship Program Participant Agreement, and if the terms and conditions of the agreement are not met, they would have to reimburse APHIS for financial assistance. Lastly, for student responsibilities, completing a minimum of 640 hours of work for VS before graduation. Next slide, please. Supervisor responsibilities of Wilson and Salma students include identifying job duties and responsibilities, assure mentor participation, complete performance plans, midpoint review and performance appraisal, provide information on any special training requirements, establish a mutually agreeable work schedule that does not interfere with the student's academic schedule, supervise daily work activities of the student, ensure that the student is converted to a permanent position within 120 days of completing all academic and internship requirements, and also copy PSS program managers on all SF-52s. Next slide, please. The next program that I'm going to speak about is the 1890 National Scholars Program. Next slide, please. So this program is open to rising freshmen, sophomores, and juniors seeking a bachelor's degree at one of the 1890 historically black land-grant universities studying agriculture, food, natural resource sciences, and related disciplines. Internships are awarded annually. Internship recipients will be placed on a Fellow Experience Program appointment, also known as the FEP. This appointment differs from Pathways in the fact that it does not provide non-competitive conversion. Tuition will be covered by the OA's office, and housing, travel, and salary will be centrally funded. Next slide, please. $18.90 scholars will receive tuition, room and board, summer employment, housing, travel to and from their duty station, as well as federal employee benefits. Next slide, please. $18.90 student responsibilities include showing proof of enrollment in an accredited college or university, maintain a cumulative GPA of 2.0 or better, notify the agency of any change in enrollment status or work schedule, being good academic standing, adhere to an established work schedule, participate in agency training classes, observe all workplace rules, perform successfully assigned duties in their PD, and again, reimburse APHIS for financial assistance received if the terms and conditions of their program participant agreement are not met. Next slide, please. Supervisor responsibilities include coordinating suitable housing, submit housing documentation to our financial management department, which includes the housing subsidy request form and a copy of the rental lease or receipt. Identify job duties and responsibilities, identify performance goals and evaluation criteria, provide information on any special training requirements, establish a mutually agreeable work schedule, supervise daily work activities of the student, and copy PSS program managers on all 52. Next slide, please. So the last program I'm going to talk about is the Tribal Nation Initiative. Next slide, please. This program is open to students seeking at least an associate's at a tribal land-grant institution in the fields of study for animal science or pre-vet medicine disciplines. Internships are awarded annually. As with the 1890s, this program is also part of the FEP appointment that does not provide non-competitive conversion, and all student expenses are paid by Essential Funds. Next slide, please. This program awards interns tuition, summer employment as an animal health technician trainee, summer housing throughout their internship, and travel to and from the duty station as the student can be placed anywhere in the U.S. Next slide, please. The student's responsibilities, again, you'll hear much of the same as the other programs. Show proof of enrollment, maintain GPA of 2.0, notify your supervisor of any change in status or schedule, participate in training classes, observe all workplace rules, and successfully perform assigned duties as stated in their position description. Next slide, please. And the supervisor responsibilities of this program include coordinating suitable housing, submitting housing documentation, completing agreements, identifying job duties and responsibilities, identifying performance goals and evaluation criteria, providing information on special training requirements, establishing a mutually agreeable work schedule, supervising students' activities, assigning a mentor, and again, copying PSS program managers on all SF52s. And I will turn it back over to Karen.
Okay. The next item on the list is the infamous Miss Pam McDonough is going to talk about transcripts and proof of enrollment requirements. Pam?
Thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. A lot of this will be a little repetitive, but I'll go through this slide pretty quickly and point out what's really important. Of course, transcripts are due after spring and fall semester grades are updated, and I have to have these before I can begin the paperwork for your next tuition payment. And as Jeree mentioned, official transcripts are due at the end of each spring semester. Then we will accept unofficial at the end of fall. And cost for transcripts is not reimbursable. Some of you are able to get official transcripts for no cost, and some, unfortunately, do have to pay. We need to see transcripts to ensure, again, good academic standing, must be 2.0 or higher, and full-time enrollment. Jeree mentioned that it was half-time or more, but for Saul Wilson scholars and Daniel Salmon scholars, it is full-time enrollment. And sometimes your transcripts show already that you're enrolled for the next semester, but if they don't, I need to see proof that you are enrolled full-time. You can get a letter from your registrar's office. I receive those all the time. So if your transcripts don't show that, then try to get a letter to show that you are enrolled full-time. What's really important is there's been times where I've reached out and have not received replies. So if your email address changes, or you're not going to be looking at the original email address provided, which is normally, I take it from your resume when you apply for the program, please send me an email, and also copy Lynn Chambers and Deidre, so we have your updated contact information. if you can't respond promptly and I don't get the forms I need, a lot of times this will delay the tuition payment, and the universities are all on different schedules. I know, some of them have earlier deadlines than others. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Karen. But please, if you have any questions at all for me at the end of this presentation, just let me know. And or you're welcome to email me and call me anytime.
Okay, thank you, Pam. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'm going to go over some frequently asked questions that we've received. And first one is, why can't new students begin working immediately? And that has to do with the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding that requires VS to provide a full year's tuition before the student can begin to work. Okay, next one is, what counts towards the 640 hours? In addition to working during school breaks, Ag Learn training counts towards the 640, as well as credit hours, comp time, and overtime. But when the student takes off for leave, those hours are not counted. Okay, next question is, can some of the 640 hours be waived? And Jeree kind of touched on that. And basically, it's if the student is enrolled in accredited college, completes at least 320 hours of the career-related work experience under their appointment, and has demonstrated high potential as evidenced by outstanding academic achievement, acceptable performance, then they may be eligible. So that's something that would need to be looked at, and that is something that would also need to be initiated by your supervisor. Next one is, can the student work over the required hours? Yes, the student can exceed the minimum required 640 hours, and those additional hours will still be covered by central funds. Next slide. Can a mentor be changed? Yes, you can change your mentor as long as you complete a new agreement with your mentor. Next question, what items are needed to convert a student to a permanent position? And there's actually a form for that, and what's listed there is everything on the form. So basically it's proof that a completion of the program, official transcripts, the copies of the agreements, and also a favorable recommendation from the supervisor. And then lastly would be SF52, request for personnel action for conversion of the student. Next slide. Okay, will relocation be paid for a student to be placed in a placed as a permanent employee? And the answer to that is on a case-by-case basis as funding permits. So it's a possibility, but I have to look at each case. Next question, does the student receive all the scholarship funds even if the money is more than their tuition and books? Okay, the way that works, excuse me, is no payment is made. It's only made up to allowable amount for the education purposes. So there's nothing refunded. It's only whatever is needed is what is paid up to the allowable amount. Next question, will I be eligible for health benefits? And the answer would be student needs to be employed for 1 year before becoming eligible for health benefits. And just bear in mind that, if you're in a non-pay status, of course, you wouldn't be able to pay your premium. So you'd have to be working enough to be able to pay your share of the premium. But the question is, when do you become eligible? And it's once you've had 1 year. Next question is, are students eligible for promotion before graduation? The answer to that is yes, if they meet the OPM, Office of Personnel Management qualification standards to the position. So what we have there is the information from the OPM website that says that an intern may be promoted to a higher grade prior to conversion if they meet the level and type of experience and education requested at time of initial appointment. And next slide. And those are the actual qualification requirements from the OPM website. So what I wanted to emphasize here is in this type of situation, if we have a student who may qualify for a higher grade, we call upon the supervisor to review that and actually make the request, because a qualification determination will need to be made by the Human Resource Division staffing specialist, but nothing can be done until the supervisor initiates something. So that's something we want to leave with you. And at this point, that's going to end our FAQs, and we'll open it up for questions. Excuse me.
And as a reminder to the audience, if you'd like to ask a question over the phone, you may do so by pressing #2 on your telephone keypad. If you'd like to send in a note, please select the participants menu at the top of your screen and opt to send note to all presenters. And if you are logged in using the internet, please use the Notes tab on the bottom right-hand side of your screen and address your questions to all moderators. Thank you.
Do we have any?
Court, this is Lawanda. There's one question that was sent in. What would be the steps to see if you qualify for the exemption of hours? And the response is that an analysis must be completed, and that includes a review of the student's hours to confirm if those are creditable work hours, if the student met the superior education requirement during their entire time of their internship, and they must also have support of their supervisor stating that they feel that they can waive those up to 320 hours. So there was a follow-up to the question. I do not have to apply for the revision. I do not understand that question. I'm sorry. So the person can contact Karen Martin directly or Deirdre. Then we can specify the answer to your specific question. We can tailor an answer to your question. Are there any other questions? Feel free to follow Corin's guidance about raising your hand or either typing the question into the queue.
Okay. If there's no further questions, can you pull up the last slide? Okay, so that's our contact information, and we actually put a little picture next to it this time. Since Jeree Lewis was clever enough to include her picture, we thought we had to follow suit. So we dug up some pictures, and now you have a face with a name. So there's the contact information for each of us that spoke here today, with the exception of Lynn Chambers. You have her contact information, but she will not be back in the office for a few weeks yet. So feel free to reach out to any of us on anything any question you had that you forgot to ask. And we will be following up with the slides, and also when it's ready, this presentation is being recorded and will be available on the recruitment website at a future date. Okay, any further questions before we complete? Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. And again, thanks to any VSET members who may have been on the call. We appreciate everybody taking your time to join us today. Take care. Thanks, Corinne.
And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's presentation. Thank you to all of our speakers as well as participants for joining us, and you may now disconnect.